We're going to look at the thermojet, and the thermojet I'll be using for installing small chip resistors. It could also be used for capacitors, and any place where you have an access problem or a handling problem. We'll also finish this demonstration with installation of all of the different styles of surface mounted components, either with the soldering iron, the solder pen bipace, or the solder or the hot air jet here. Let's go into the scope. For the first demonstration, I'd like to show you how to install basic chips. In this area here, we'll go ahead and dispense some solder paste. Now, if you dispense too much like I just did there, you may want to come in with the solder extractor immediately and get that out of there. And go ahead and reinstall the appropriate amount. Now we'll go ahead with a tweezer. We'll place the parts. There's one, and there's two. Now, due to the fact that these are small components, with our hot air jet attached to the pressure, we may want to go to a minimum pressure setting, 0 to 1. And in this way, when we turn on the hot air to the subject, it will not be blown away. As you can see, the paste is warming up, and we'll go ahead and ramp it up a little bit, and then ultimately we'll get the melt. And you can see the surface tension self-aligns the component. Now, let's say we want to work a little bit faster. In this case, if we do want to go faster, we can go ahead and put the pressure up to 3 to 4. But because we might inadvertently blow this away, we either have to keep our distance, or in this case, I'm going to add a little support tool behind. However, once the solder is melted, you can see the surface tension does hold it into place. Let's now take a look at the installation of a quad flat pack using solder paste. I'll go ahead and place the part. We don't have to be so critical as to our placement at this point. All we want to do is get it in a basic position so I can at least flux these opposite corners and tack the part in. Take my soldering iron and wipe it clean and get a tack in there and a tack in over here. Now we'll go ahead and dispense the appropriate amount of solder paste where the toe meets the land and run a bead in this fashion. One more side. Now, before I do this demonstration on this, a lot of folks have asked me about how do I work with this solder paste? What am I looking for? How fast do I put the air? How close do I get with a hot air jet? Well, what I'd like to do is have you set it at about 3 to 4. We're going to play a little game called air hockey puck solder ball. And the game is played by first putting air and getting the solder paste to slump. And see, it was basically heated and it slumped down. Now the idea is to continue to heat it in a slow fashion to go from a shiny surface to more of a flat looking finish. As you can see, it's changing, and ultimately the solder coalesces. Now you want to try to get it to coalesce into one ball, and you want to be able to blow that ball around just slightly, but you don't want to push it away. Alright, and that's solder ball hockey. And as you can see, there is one single ball of solder. Now let's apply that to this piece here. We're going to go up and back with this flattened type tip. We're going to be warming the solder paste there at slumps, but we're also warming the leads as well. Once we have a dry look to the solder paste, we'll go ahead and start at this end and draw up, heating the leads and the paste. And that solder paste will draw from the toe to the heel fillet. And we'll go back and forth and do that again here. Of course, if you are working on a high mass board, you might consider the use of preheating as a means of doing this type of installation. You also want to make sure your circuit board is dry so you do not have any problems with the moisture outgassing through the solder paste. And there's our final run. Now I'd like to show you the same component being installed with a soldering iron technique. Let's go back to the microscope. Let's go over here and grab a part. And we'll put it into position. Once again, like we did with the solder paste procedure, we will have to go and flux opposite corners here so we can tack and align the part. And here we go here and here. Now what I'd like to do is use this no clean flux and add it to the lead land area. Now once I've done that, I'll take the soldering iron, I'll wipe the tip real well, and I'll actually add a meniscus of solder to the face here. Now I'll bring that meniscus down onto the lead land and I'll draw across like this and draw across like this. What's happening is that solder on the bottom of that tip is making contact slightly with the lead and creating the solder joints. So there's another way to do it.